Hello and welcome. My name is Carsten Lützen. I'm a professional agile coach, Scrum Master and a professional coach. Today I will share one of my go-to ways of making a retrospective, or facilitating a retrospective, where I think we cover a lot of the bases that I see as a fundamental part of a retrospective. But if you like these videos, please consider subscribing and sharing. That would be super awesome. So, first up in the retrospective, I am always starting with, or I tend to start with, achievement posters. For me, it's a great way to get people active. It's a great way of looking back in a positive light. So, what did we actually achieve in the last retrospective, in the last sprint, iteration, or whatever we call it? So this both work when we are in the room together and online. So what we're doing is looking back at the last sprint. What are we proud of? What is it that we think that we really we really got it as we would like to? We really made some progress. We really got somewhere. So I'm asking people individually and in silence to just sit and fill in the achievement poster. And I often do it in different categories to have some kind of easy way to decode what is actually being put up here, so we can see also a bit meta. Do we have a good split of the different categories? And you can select your own categories, of course. The categories I tend to use is, first off, product. So how did we proceed on product? Which features, which things did we deliver that related to product? It can also be a bit more abstract. A lot of the teams I work with, and I guess it's the same for you, also work with some kind of highly specialized knowledge. So what knowledge did we gain? What did we learn? Again, this is also to try and foster a learning mindset and a learning approach to things. And because I really believe that we should spend time with our teams, also in a social way. Another category is social. So what social things did we do? Did we go out to have lunch? Did we take a walk? Did we go to a team dinner? Did we just have a really fun experience at the office? So we can put this here. And if this one is empty, if there's nothing here, I would really encourage you to look how the team is doing. And then also just a catch-all. So something that doesn't fit in here, but then we can have it in the other category. So somebody got a new cat or a new kitchen or whatever, right? But things that we are proud of. And then over time, right, we will have like a full wall of these achievement posters, either virtually or physically. And it's just so motivating when you have done it for a year, for instance. You can go back and see, what did we do 1 year ago? What is it that we were proud of 1 year ago? Yes, we can always look in the sprint backlog or whatnot, but what was it that we were proud about? And that's super motivating and quite interesting. I've made a longer video on the achievement posters that I will link to. Then the next thing I do is, because this is hopefully not the first retrospective, right? That is a follow-up. So in follow-up, we look back at the focus points from last time. And then we figure out what progress did we make? Is this still a priority? Is this something that we can just say, yeah, that was it, we are done with it? And we get an update from the driver. And the driver is not necessarily the person that did all the work, but the driver is just responsible for making sure that something has happened and responsible for actually giving an update. And this update is again just to let the rest of the team know that something has happened, so we get an idea that, okay, we are actually spending time and effort on this, because that's quite important. And I'll get a bit back to, but what we have done when we set this focus point is we identify signs of a positive improvement of that a change have happened. So we can look at all these signs and then figure out, do we close this or do we carry on? It can also be that it's not closed, but it's not a priority for us anymore. That's completely fair. Then with that in place, we go towards the more classic retrospective part. So this is where we look in the iteration, what happened, what have we been up to, and a lot of different exercises exist for this. And I usually go back to a classic. It's an exercise called Starfish that I modified ever so slightly. So a starfish have 5 areas. I usually have 6, and I'll just run through these. I have a video on this, the retro wheel, which I call it just, yeah. So, what is it that we should start to do? So things that we in the team think we should start doing, is it more different reviews or whatnot, right? So things that we should start to do, or start having a plan maybe, or frequent retrospective. What is it that we should stop doing? So things that we're doing right now, but it doesn't make sense for us. Let's stop doing it and spend that effort somewhere else. Then what things should we continue to do? This is again to make sure that we, in a positive way, keep the things that are actually working for us and remind ourselves that we have a lot of stuff that works, and these are the things we need to make sure that we continue to do. Sometimes when you observe over time, you will also see some things in start that we should start to do that then moves into continue, and then maybe even into stop at one point. But this is where you as a facilitator, it's quite nice to keep an eye over the trends over time, right? Continue. Then what is it that we should do more of? We should do more team huddling. We should do more knowledge sharing. We should do more testing of the product. So more and less. So this doesn't mean we have to stop the things, but we should just do less of it. Less arguing maybe, less surprise visits from someone else. So things that we should do less of. And then I need to just right here. And then the last one, which is super important to me, is appreciative feedback. And having worked with a fair deal of engineers, I have a standard phrase for how I introduce this, which is appreciative feedback is non-sarcastic, non-ironic, appreciative feedback to a person in this meeting, and it cannot be me. To my experience, that closes most of the different ways of not taking this serious. And of course, not everything has to be serious, but I just want to make sure that we also have another way of saying what you did was actually really, really cool. We can also do it up here in the achievement posters, but we also have a chance here. So when I facilitate this, I usually do it 1, 2 for all, or 1 and then in plenum. But again, remember, it's super important to have that 1 minute individually and in silence, so people can just sit, reflect, and look back at what was it that we were doing in the last iteration, and how did we do. When we have then put all these things here, we do a vote to figure out where is the energy, and then we take the top scores and move it to this new part. So that can be, we had a cluster of something in start, for instance, of sticky notes, then we put it here, and now I just need the right pen. So this is where we decide on our focus point or improvement points or whatever we call it. And here I like to have, as I said, the focus point itself, and then, then some kind of driver. And as I said up here, the driver is not responsible for doing all the work, but the driver is responsible for making sure that things happen, that something happen. For each of these focus points, we talk about, do we of course agree what this actually entails? And then we take again 3 or 4 minutes at least individually in silence to focus on, so let's imagine that this has happened. This is not a problem anymore. This has actually been solved. How would you know? When would you know? Would it be when you get into the office? Would it be when you sit in the next team meeting and there is a clear agenda and everyone is on point? And then we start to brainstorm and put on these signs. In this way, we don't jump into solution mode straight away. So we don't say we need to fix this by this. We just identify how do we know that it's fixed, and then after the retrospective, the driver can go and look at these signs and come up with much better ideas than if we force a solution in the retrospective. So that is how I do a retrospective a lot of the time, simply because this gets us in a quite positive way, a positive mindset, and we still get a lot of good topics out in the open. And time-wise, this is maybe 5 minutes, half an hour, 15 minutes, something like that. So this is where we spend the majority of the time. That was it. I'm hoping this has given you some ideas on how to facilitate a retrospective. I will include links to the different exercises more in depth, but yeah, this is the overall flow. And if you have comments, questions, ideas, or feedback to these videos, please leave a comment or send me a message. That would be super awesome. Yeah, have a super awesome day.